The first F-22 appeared off the left wing at 31,000 feet. It did not pass them. It matched their speed. A second Raptor slid behind the charter jet as the aircraft continued to descend. Inside the cockpit, Captain Daniel Mercer was unconscious over the controls. 6 passengers were wearing oxygen masks, and the woman gripping the yoke had not flown in 12 years. Static cracked across the emergency frequency. Unidentified Hawthorne jet, rock your wings if you can hear me. The woman keyed the microphone. Twice silence. Then the fighter pilot's voice changed. 2 clicks, no wasted motion, a beat. Viper. Elena Cross froze. Now 2 F-22s had found the name she had buried for 12 years. 43 minutes earlier, Elena had boarded the charter flight in dark jeans, an old Navy jacket, and reading glasses she did not need. The glasses made her forgettable. That was the point. The Halden Veterans Legal Foundation had booked the aircraft from Bangor to Virginia for a closed hearing about Operation Pale Lantern, a mission that officially existed only as a heavily redacted paragraph. Elena was listed as a records consultant. Across the aisle sat Olivia Wade, 24, holding a worn leather purse against her chest. Inside it was her father's flight patch. Captain Thomas Wade, call sign Torch. He had been Elena's wingman. 12 years earlier, his aircraft had vanished beyond a mountain ridge. The official report said he had broken formation, ignored a withdrawal order, and entered hostile airspace alone. It also said Lieutenant Colonel Elena Cross had tried to save him. Neither statement was true. Olivia did not recognize her. You work for Halden? She asked sometimes. Lawyer? No, military records? When they need someone to read what is missing, Olivia gave a humorless smile. My father became a missing line in a military record. Elena looked at her. What was his name? Thomas Wade. The paperback in Elena's hands suddenly felt too heavy. Olivia continued before Elena could answer. They are reopening the case today. 12 years too late. You believe the report was wrong? I know it was wrong. How? Because one pilot came home decorated, and my father came home as a warning. Elena held her gaze. Which pilot? They called her Viper. At the front of the cabin, Captain Mercer stepped out of the cockpit to greet the passengers. He was 61, broad-shouldered, silver-haired, with the easy confidence of someone who had spent most of his life above bad weather. We should be at Langley in a little over an hour, he said. Some rough air near the coast, but nothing this aircraft cannot handle. As he turned away, Elena noticed him press 2 fingers to his temple. A small movement. Most people would have ignored it. Elena did not. 3 minutes later, the engines changed pitch. Then the pressure in her ears dropped so quickly that the woman behind her cried out. Captain Mercer's voice came over the speaker, but the words were slurred. Elena was already out of her seat when the cockpit door opened by itself. Mercer was folded over the controls. The aircraft was descending, and the cabin altitude warning had never sounded. Elena reached the cockpit before anyone else. Doctor, she shouted. A man in the 3rd row raised his hand. Samir Patel, emergency medicine. Get him breathing. Do not move him until I clear the controls. Olivia stopped in the doorway. You said you read records. Elena pulled the captain's shoulder away from the yoke and leveled the wings. I do. That does not explain this. No, it does not. The instrument panel looked familiar in the way a foreign city can feel familiar after a long absence. The shapes were different. The logic was not. Airspeed readings disagreed. The cabin pressure gauge was frozen. The right side display flickered every few seconds. Elena reached for the oxygen mask. Everyone keep your masks on, she ordered. Secure anything loose. Stay seated unless Dr. Patel asks for help. Olivia remained where she was. How do you know what to do? Elena looked at the altimeter. 32,000 feet. Too high for questions. Because the pilot is unconscious and no one else is moving. She tuned the emergency frequency. Mayday, Mayday, Hawthorne Charter 614. Pilot incapacitated. Possible depressurization. 6 passengers aboard. Descending through flight level 310. Static answered, then air traffic control. Hawthorne 614. Confirm person at controls is qualified. Elena paused half a second too long. Negative on current qualification. Olivia heard it. You are not licensed? Not anymore. The controller began issuing a heading toward the nearest suitable airport. But the aircraft's weather radar showed a solid storm line across the route. Elena asked for military assistance because they needed an external inspection and a reliable speed reference. 8 minutes later, the first F-22 appeared. The fighter moved beside them, close enough for Elena to see the pilot turn his helmet. Unidentified Hawthorne jet, rock your wings if you can hear me. Elena looked at the attitude indicator. The aircraft was already unstable. Rocking the wings could make a bad situation worse. She keyed the microphone twice instead. The fighter pilot fell silent. Then he said 2 clicks, no wasted motion. Elena's hand stopped. It was a training habit from another life. 2 radio clicks meant yes when words took too long. She had taught it to a squadron of young pilots who believed speed and panic were the same thing. "Viper," the pilot said. "Is that you?" Olivia slowly removed one side of her mask. Elena pressed the transmit switch. "This is Viper." The second F-22 moved behind the charter jet, the first held beside the cockpit. "Major Aaron Wade," the fighter pilot said. "Raptor 1. Olivia's face changed. Aaron Wade was her father's younger brother. Her uncle had just found the woman their family blamed for Torch's death. Aaron's voice hardened. "Of all the aircraft in this sky, I never expected to find you in that seat." "Elena," Dr. Patel called. From behind them, Captain Mercer. "His pulse is weak." She adjusted the descent. "This is not the time, Major. It became the time when you disappeared with the truth about my brother." Elena looked at the storm ahead. "I have 6 passengers, an unconscious pilot, bad airspeed data, and a pressure leak. Hate me after we land." Aaron did not answer for 3 seconds. Then his tone became professional again. "Understood. Viper, tell me what you need. First, stop calling me Viper." They descended through 24,000 feet, while Aaron's F-22 inspected the outside of the jet. "No visible structural damage," he reported. "No smoke. Left engine nacelle looks clean." Elena touched the moisture beneath Mercer's headset cushion. "Not blood. Condensation." She checked the emergency oxygen bottle. "It was losing pressure too quickly. This was not a heart attack," she said. Dr. Patel looked up from Mercer. "What was it?" "Hypoxia. The cabin pressure sensor failed before the warning system knew we were in trouble." "Can you repair it?" "No, we get below 10,000 feet before the oxygen runs out." The controller offered a civilian airport 38 miles southwest. Elena rejected it. "There is a storm wall between us and that runway." Aaron answered. "Radar shows a narrow break 12 miles north." "My screen shows severe cells. Your weather radar may be lagging. And your radar is designed to find aircraft, not keep a civilian jet out of hail." Olivia watched Elena argue with a man flying one of the most advanced fighters in the world. For the first time, she understood something her family had never considered. Elena was not fearless. She was simply willing to disagree while afraid. The aircraft shook. The left airspeed display dropped by 40 knots. The right one did not move. Aaron called, "You are fast, Viper. 280 knots." Elena reduced power immediately. Her face tightened. She had nearly trusted the wrong instrument. Olivia saw the fear flash through her. "You can make mistakes," Olivia said. Elena did not turn. That is usually how people learn they are not legends. A steel box had fallen from Elena's bag during the descent. Olivia picked it up. 5 small marks were scratched into the lid. She knew what they meant. 5 confirmed victories. "Put it back. You really were an ace." "I was a pilot." 5 enemy aircraft makes you an ace. It makes 5 aircraft that never returned. Olivia opened the box. There were no medals inside. Only a scorched patch showing a torch crossed with a silver wing. Her father's patch. The anger she had carried for years suddenly found a shape. "You had this?" Elena's eyes left the instruments for less than a second. The jet drifted. Aaron caught it immediately. "Hold your heading," Elena corrected. Olivia gripped the patch. "Why did you have my father's insignia?" "He gave it to me when." The storm flashed white across the windshield. "Before the mission ended." "You said you could not tell me what happened." "You never said you did not know." Aaron heard every word. "Viper, the weather gap is closing. Turn north now." Elena stared at the storm. 12 years earlier, another wall of cloud had covered a mountain pass. Below it, a medical transport carried 63 civilians through a corridor the government had publicly denied using. 7 hostile aircraft had appeared from the east. Command ordered the transport to turn back. Elena had ignored the order. Thomas Wade had stayed on her wing. "Elena!" Aaron shouted. She pulled the charter jet into the turn. Both F-22s moved with her. The storm swallowed all 3 aircraft. Rain hammered the windshield. The jet rolled right, then left. "Do not chase every movement," Aaron said. "Hold the average. I know how to fly through weather. You knew 12 years ago, too." Olivia leaned toward the microphone. "Uncle Aaron, stop. This woman was the last person to hear your father alive. And right now she is the only reason we are still alive." Lightning revealed the F-22 beside them for 1 second, perfectly level. Elena aligned the jet with it. "Stay there," she said. "Do you want me to be your horizon?" "I want you not to move." Raptor 2 took position on the other side. For the next 4 minutes, Elena flew between the 2 fighters because she no longer trusted the instruments enough to fly alone. At 14,000 feet, the air became easier to breathe. That was when Olivia asked the question. "No report," answered. "What did my father choose?" Elena's jaw tightened. "You said he gave you the patch." "What did he choose?" The memory returned in fragments. A medical transport below them. Enemy fighters approaching from the east, fuel warnings. A command voice ordering Viper and Torch to abandon the corridor. Elena had already destroyed 4 hostile aircraft. A 5th broke toward the transport. She turned after it. Thomas climbed, drawing the remaining fighters away from her. Torch. Rejoin, Elena had ordered. No. That is a direct order. You are not my commander today, Thomas. You have the transport. I have the sky behind you. Elena destroyed the 5th aircraft. When she turned back, Thomas was alone against 2 more. His engine was damaged. He could still have ejected, but the enemy fighters would have reached the transport before Elena could reverse course again. Torch, eject. I am coming back. No, I am not leaving you. Then do not call it leaving. His breathing was heavy over the radio. Call it finishing the mission in the charter jet. Elena forced herself to speak. Your father stayed behind because someone had to hold 2 fighters away from the transport. Olivia stared at her. Why is that not in the report? Because the transport crossed a border our government had publicly promised not to cross. Admitting the mission would have exposed the escape route and the people who helped those families. Aaron's voice came through the radio. You could have told us when the route was closed. Yes, you could have told us when the civilians were safe. Yes, you had 12 years. Elena looked at the F-22 beside her. The first 3 years, silence was an order, and the other 9, they were mine. No one spoke. The jet continued descending between the fighters. Elena had spent years preparing explanations. None of them sounded honest enough now. I told myself. I was protecting a classified operation, she said. The truth is, I did not know how to look your family in the eye and explain that I obeyed him. Aaron's breathing filled the channel. You accepted the credit? No. Command recorded the victories. I refused the medal. You let the official report call him reckless. Yes. You let Olivia grow up believing her father broke formation for no reason. Yes. There was no dramatic defense, no claim that duty erased guilt, only the answer she should have given years earlier. Olivia looked down at the scorched patch. My father told you to leave him. He told me to bring the transport home. And you did, yes. Then why did you disappear? Elena watched the storm fall behind them, because being called a hero was easier for other people than hearing what the mission cost. The left engine warning light appeared. Oil pressure falling, temperature rising, a low vibration spread through the floor. The truth had barely surfaced before the aircraft gave them a new reason to stop talking. Raptor 1, Elena said, inspect my left engine. Aaron moved closer, dark vapor from the rear nacelle, no visible flame. Elena reduced power. The jet yawed sharply, she corrected with rudder. Dr. Patel gripped the seat behind her. Can you shut it down? I can. And then we fly on one. And if the second engine fails? Elena looked through the windshield. We stopped flying. The passengers heard her. No one screamed. Fear had moved beyond noise. Elena shut down the failing engine. The vibration stopped. The silence was worse. Langley was 46 miles ahead. The right engine carried the aircraft alone. Hydraulic pressure began to fall with the left engine offline. Captain Mercer opened his eyes in the rear seat. Dr. Patel leaned over him. Do not try to stand. Mercer looked toward the cockpit. Who is flying? Elena Cross. You a pilot once. What did you fly? Before Elena could answer, Aaron said over the radio. Everything that tried to kill her. Mercer managed a weak smile. Single engine? Yes. Hydraulics? Falling. The manual gear release is behind the co-pilot's seat. Elena found the red handle beneath a protective cover. When I pull it, how long before the gear should lock? 8 seconds. And if it does not, yaw gently. Airflow may help its seat. Elena nodded. The runway appeared on the navigation display. 27 miles, she pulled the handle. A heavy mechanical thud moved beneath the cabin. 1 green light appeared. Then a second, the third remained dark. Right main gear uncertain. Elena said. Raptor 2 moved below the charter jet. Right gear appears down, the pilot reported. Cannot confirm lock. Mercer spoke from the back. There is a viewing port under the floor panel. Olivia found the panel and tore it open. Beneath it was a narrow circular window. She pressed her face close. I see the wheel. Look for a yellow stripe on the locking arm, Mercer said. I do not know what I am looking at. Elena glanced at the runway symbol 20 miles. Do not look for the whole mechanism, she told Olivia. Look for the one color that does not belong. Olivia forced herself to breathe. Metal shadow, hydraulic lines, then a small yellow mark. I see it. Straight or angled? Angled. Mercer closed his eyes, not locked. Aaron recommended a low pass over the runway so ground crews could inspect the gear. Fuel was becoming a problem. Every extra minute increased the chance of losing the remaining hydraulic system. Elena said, negative, we land on this approach. If the gear folds, I know. You do not have to prove anything. This is not about proving anything. Olivia reached through the panel with the only thin piece of metal she had, the pin from her father's patch. She pressed it against the angled locking arm. Nothing happened. Again, Mercer whispered. Olivia pushed harder. The pin bent. The yellow mark moved half an inch in the cockpit. The third green light, 3 green, Elena said. Aaron F-22 held beside them. Runway in sight. You can break away. I will stay through touchdown. That is not necessary. Neither was my brother staying behind. Elena's fingers tightened on the controls. No, she said. Was not. The aircraft crossed the runway threshold too fast. Elena reduced power on the remaining engine. The right wing dipped, she corrected. The jet floated, refusing to settle. Do not force it, Mercer called. Elena held the nose steady. The main wheels struck the pavement once. Twice. The right gear remained beneath them. The nose wheel came down. Elena applied braking. Uneven hydraulic pressure pulled the jet left. Grass filled the edge of the windshield. She eased off, corrected, and applied pressure again. 80 knots. 60-40. At 20 knots, she guided the aircraft off the active runway. Then she shut down the last engine. For several seconds, no one moved. Only oxygen flowed through the masks. Only rain tapped the fuselage. Then Mercer spoke from the back. Not bad for someone who has never landed one. Elena released the controls. Her hands began shaking. They had not shaken in the storm. They shook only after there was nothing left for them to do. 3 hours later, Elena sat inside a briefing room at Langley. Captain Mercer was stable at the base hospital. The passengers had been examined and released. The closed hearing scheduled for that afternoon had been canceled. It was no longer necessary. During the emergency, Elena had described Operation Pale Lantern over an open military frequency recorded by air traffic control, the charter jet, and both F-22s. The secret had already escaped. Aaron entered, carrying a tablet. He placed it between Elena and Olivia. A formal review had been ordered. The original cockpit audio would be unsealed. Captain Thomas Wade's finding of pilot error was suspended pending investigation. Aaron remained standing for 12 years. I thought you took the victory and left him the blame. Elena looked at the bent pin on the table. I left him something worse. What? Silence. Aaron pulled out the chair opposite her. My brother made his choice. So did I. Olivia opened the steel box and removed the scorched patch. People are going to call you an ace again. They can. Does that not matter to you? Elena turned over the steel lid. On its underside, Thomas had scratched 4 words before the final mission. Bring somebody else home. The 5 marks tell people what I destroyed, Elena said. This tells them why any of it mattered. Months later, the revised Pale Lantern report was released. It did not describe Thomas Wade as a pilot who broke formation. It described him as the airman who held back 2 hostile aircraft long enough for 63 civilians to cross the mountains. Elena's 5 victories were acknowledged publicly. She declined the ceremony. Instead, she returned to the small aviation school where she had spent 12 years teaching teenagers to read weather, respect checklists, and question an instrument when the world outside contradicted it. On the first day of a new term, a student noticed the scorched patch framed beside her desk. Who was Torch? He asked. Elena looked at it for a long moment. The reason Viper came home. Some people disappear because history forgets them. Others disappear because the truth feels heavier than the uniform they once wore. Silence can protect lives for a while, but after the danger passes, silence can become another kind of lie. Elena could not change the mission. She could not bring Thomas back. She could only stop allowing the wrong story to carry his name, and that may be the hardest kind of courage. Not the courage to enter a fight, but the courage to return years later and admit what fear kept hidden. If you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, subscribe and stay with us. There are still names beneath the call signs, and some of them are still waiting to come home.